Have you ever wondered why so many players in the finals seem to have absolutely zero recoil? If you naturally want to have zero recoil on mouse and keyboard without using any cheats, you need to understand a few things about this game. So the first thing you need to understand about weapons and aim in this game is that you don't have any random recoil patterns. It means that every single time you shoot your gun, the recoil pattern will stay absolutely the same. For example, for AK, you have this question mark recoil pattern, and knowing this will allow you to shoot your enemies without any problems, just going off your muscle memory. Make sure that you are practicing it beforehand, because in the critical situations, your skill set will be narrowed to the things that you have practiced the most. Second thing you have to understand is that there is no direct correlation between your actual aim and visual recoil. It means that no matter how much your gun jumps left and right, at the end of the day, you will shoot at the center of your screen. Of course, given the fact that you want to hypercompensate for the recoil you have. It's really important to understand that, because people are being too distracted at how much their gun is jumping that they absolutely forget that they need to aim at where your sway, is that how it's called, is aimed at. No matter how much my gun jumps, if I time my shots perfectly, it has zero recoil. But if I would try to go for stuff like this, as you can see, it's still precise. It's a lot more precise than what my weapon shows it to be. Third thing you have to understand is that after a certain point, you actually absolutely don't need to recoil control that much. It especially shown on AK. For example, I have to hypercompensate for the first big part of my recoil pattern, and then it's just an absolute hit scan. So if you go for AK recoil pattern again, you will see that I would have to hypercompensate for that part of the recoil pattern, and then this one is incredibly easy. So as you can see, there is a target, I am hypercompensating, and then I'm completely not moving my mouse at all, or at least it does seem like. So I'm hypercompensating, and here it's just perfect aim right there. There is a direct correlation between how fast your mouse moves and how easy it is for you to hypercompensate and so-called use the recoil smoothing. The recoil smoothing is a technique that allows you to completely or almost completely get rid of the recoil. You do that by accident pretty much all the time when you are tracking a person that's jumping off the jump pad, a person that's riding a zip line, a person that's jumping onto you up close. You will see that the faster you have to move your mouse, the less recoil it has. And you can actually enhance that by anti-mirroring the movement of a person that you are dueling. So let's imagine that there is a guy and he is moving left. If I would mirror his movement, right? If I would mirror his movement, I'm not moving my mouse pretty much at all, and this is why it's gonna be a lot more difficult to control my recoil. Of course, I am an extraordinary aim, and this is not a problem for me to do so, but if you are a guy that works 12-hour shifts and just wants to play the game as easy and as effectively as possible, doing this will hurt your recoil, will hurt your aim. So what you're gonna do instead is you will encourage yourself to move your mouse more naturally. And how you do that? You anti-mirror your enemy movement. Excuse me, there is a thing on my glass mousepad which irritates me. So you do that by going in a different direction from what your opponent is going, and it naturally makes your mouse move more, because again, I'm moving and mirroring the target, or I am anti-mirroring the target. Yeah, and so it's gonna be a lot easier for you to shoot a person. Of course, it's gonna take time to adjust, especially if you haven't thought about this before, but when you do, it will become your second nature, and you naturally gonna have less recoil. So when we talk about controller and rewasd, especially after the yesterday's update, I personally felt it so hard that controller went from the category call me daddy to the category tuck me in daddy. It means that it went from being a complete aimbot, and I was able to compete with best aimers in this game just by having 20 hours on controller, to the point where I cannot play the game on controller anymore because of how much weaker it became. So they completely got rid of zoom snapping, which is a tool that allowed you to pretty much stick your crosshair to a target if he's in the range of your aim assist and you are zooming onto him, you are ADSing onto him, right? It allowed you to be exceptionally accurate, especially given the fact that controller completely gets rid of your natural delay that you have as a human being. It's called reaction time. Average human being has 200 millisecond reaction time, and controller completely gets rid of that, because when you are looking at the target without ADSing, your crosshair gets onto him, and then when you are zooming onto a target with your ADS, it completely sticks to a target for 0.3 seconds. So it was a complete aimbot, and mouse and keyboard players just could not compete with that because they were not as stable and they were not as accurate. Because again, you have a human factor going on for you. You haven't slept well, you have a bad day, you have a bad FPS, something stuck under your mouse pad, you have problems with your mouse, I don't know, something happened, someone distracted you, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation when you are missing out on duels that you would have won with controller. But after the update, it completely went away. Now it feels like they made it very fair, or maybe even slightly less fair than it should be. So now you would have to pretty much manually aim, and in my personal opinion, it completely killed the controller as an input, especially when we talk about high levels and competing against extraordinary mouse and keyboard players. In the previous patch, developers also spoke about how rewasd is not gonna give you aim assist if you would try to emulate controller while being on mouse and keyboard. So initially, this was a program that allowed you to still use M and K while being handicapped in other way or another, and this is a great purpose for this tool. Unfortunately, there are some losers that decided to turn it into a cheat and have unfair advantage over players because apparently they didn't feel like they could compete in any way. So right now, even if you don't have aim assist with rewasd, some people said that you can still have anti-recoil scripts, and I'm not saying that in order to promote that, I'm saying that to spread awareness, so developers would look into that, and perhaps if this problem still exists, they would fix it. I have no idea, I've never used rewasd or any other legal or illegal cheat in this game, except like controller. So I have no idea. Some people say that's still the case, some people say that don't, so we just pray that developers look into that and fix it if it's broken. And if it's not, everything's great. I personally found out that there are a lot less players that are beaming me from like 0 to 100 within the first 0.5 milliseconds of our duel, so it is amazing. And lastly, I would wanted to share my warm-up / aim training routine. So usually I would go to the practice range and just spray bots. I want to make sure that I absolutely don't have any distracting thoughts and completely focus on my aiming part. I make sure that I hit every single bullet I try to land, and target switching is also very important. For target switching practice, I highly advise you to go for the heavy and go for the Lewis gun. This way, it will allow you to shoot multiple players without reloading that quick. So that's gonna be it for today's video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment section. I would like to answer all of them. See you in the next one. Take care.